Hello. We're going to give a moment for everyone to get their notifications and are kind of getting their computers up and ready and logged in for our LiveNar today. Okay. So, welcome to the Therapist to Therapist Partnership Lunch and Learn LiveNar. I am going to be your host today. I'm Dr. Shannon Roberts. Thank you for attending. If you're a therapist out there, I know how valuable your time is. So I promise I'm going to take about 30 minutes. Hopefully you can grab something to eat while you're attending. Listen, I've been in the area as a licensed mental health counselor for well over 30 years. We are in a new day and age, and if you're a private practitioner, a lot of times, sometimes we feel very to an island of our own. So one of the reasons why I love giving this type of LiveNar option is just really to connect with everybody that's out there that is like-minded, life-skilled at the same area of passion and pursuit, and wanting to just kind of get to know you all and you to get to know me. I love professional colleague to colleague partnering. So um, my area of background is working with Christian couples. And so we know that in our work, we are well versed in the need to make sure that we are culturally and ethnically sensitive to all the kinds of different backgrounds of our clients. So if you're here because you work with um, faith-based couples, if you are here because you work with individuals, if you're here because you just want to know more about what the research and the literature says about this culturally sensitive background and culture of faith-based or Christian couples, then I am here to offer some of that value just based on my um, experience and also in my doctoral dissertation research. I love giving value so that we are all operating with the best tool set as possible. I'm hoping and praying that all of your calendars are full, likelihood that they are. We have had a surge in a mental health pandemic recently. And listen, there can't be enough of us. So kudos to you out there that are continuing to want to deepen connections and referral bases. Kudos to you that are giving of your time to even continue to further your understanding and your knowledge. So welcome again to the Therapist to Therapist Partnership Lunch and Learn LiveNar. And I'm going to start by just telling you that some of this literature that I'm going to be giving you is what I did in my lit review as part of my dissertation for my PhD. And I hope that you can find some value to it. And hopefully by the end of this time, we can talk about next steps of what we can do to partner together. So welcome again. So basically, the background of why I did this research and why this is an area for me and my passion and pursuit is that Christian couples do enter into marriage with influences from their faith values and traditions that are different from other couples. And knowing those nuances help us to be more effective in our approach when working with them. I'm going to be operating from a specific workbook today. I'm going to go ahead and put that link on the screen. You can use it as an outline in our discussion. But also, I've dropped it into the show notes, so hopefully you can get it from there as well. Give you a moment to get that up and ready. So let me go ahead and copy and paste that link on the show notes really quick for you. Okay. All right. These couples believe that God is directly involved in their marriage. And so when I sit in the room with couples, I really, as you well know, have 3 clients at the same time. I have her, him, and then the relationship that they've been asking for you to enter in and to work through. But in addition to that, specifically with Christian couples, they really believe that God is an entity in the room as well, and that he is directly involved in their marriage. What we know to be true is specifically that their beliefs influence how they prevent, resolve, and overcome marital conflict. As we well know from John Gottman's well-researched, is those 4 horsemen in the way conflict shows up in a relationship can be that fatal straw that can break the camel's back. And so the number one complaint that I have with couples when they come into counseling is they really are identifying that for some reasons that you have to uniquely understand, obviously, as couples therapists, that they've gotten to this place where they don't have a good communication cycle of being able to work through life stressors or to be able to heal pain points in their relationship. And so knowing that for Christian couples, that their beliefs influence how they prevent, resolve, and overcome marital conflict is imperative in knowing how those belief systems work. Christian couples demonstrate a higher commitment to seeking reconciliation rather than divorce for their marital conflicts. And so much more commitment to working on the relationship. However, let me add to that typically couples will wait an average of 4 to 7 years thinking about coming into counseling before they actually come into counseling. But for Christian couples, even though they are more committed to a reconciliation process, a lot of times they wait a little bit longer to get into the counseling room, maybe having had reached out to maybe a pastor or a priest or a minister of some type first. So coupling or partnering with local faith-based institutions is ideal if this is the area of expertise that you want to continue to work through and with. But also realizing that these couples might have come in with a greater length of ramp up time to get there. And sometimes they come in with a little bit of extra level of shame, not seeing necessarily the growth opportunities in that setting, really sometimes carrying a sense of failure that they haven't been able to do it on their own or through their relationship in their faith institutions or in their belief sets. So knowing that this is a really an extra layer of pain point for them. And so despite the call for more understanding and more sensitivity towards evidence-based interventions and honoring this very diverse population of couples, which has been called through the Association for Spiritual, Ethical, and Religious Values in Counseling, asking for more intervention specifically geared towards helping this particular population. there is a need for empirically supported interventions for those of the Christian faith, to incorporate more of the research that I'm going to be going over with you today. And so this is the background and the purpose of why I like to get the message out, and I like to better equip those that might be or find themselves working with individuals or couples with this particular population. So also we know that, that evidence-based practice is for if you're working with an individual, that it's problematic to additionally work in the marriage or the couple as well. So creating referral systems, creating partnerships so that we are all working together as a therapeutic team on the same page is necessary. So to that end, my background is in a training emotionally focused therapy intervention. It was founded by Sue Johnson. You probably are all familiar with it. It's seen in a meta-analysis, a very ethical support to the tune of sometimes upwards of 90% success rate. But incorporating the, as you know, emotionally focused therapy is based on the attachment science and theories. And so working with Christian couples, we incorporate the science and the literature reviews from the God attachment literature as well. Christian marriages. Even though couples of faith and Christian couples, their national divorce rates track very similarly to the overall general population of divorce rate, unfortunately. And what we have found is that there are subtle differences between faith-based couples that actually practice in their faith versus identify in their faith. So that's a big area that you might want to understand, that if they are actually involved in and strategically incorporating those spiritual disciplines and practices, they actually see a divorce rate significantly below the national average. So we really go into all of those rhythms and traditions and how and if they are in those at the current moment in their relationship. Sometimes those get pushed to the side, deprioritized in times of challenge within the relationship itself. The impact of their beliefs, however, can bring additional stressors to their marriages. So understanding kind of how those belief systems can be also problematic. One is that belief in sexual abstinence before marriage can either lead to younger age at the time of the marriage. And what we know is that there's a distinct line between those that get married under the age of 24 versus later after the age of 24, that can be a significant difference. We're seeing that from brain development and many other things. But if they are really practicing their faith and if they're trying to abstain from sexual activity prior to marriage, it would lend itself sometimes to them getting married at younger ages. And what we know is that this impact of younger age can then also have an influence on parenting younger, and it also tracks with lower educational and income levels. And we all know those are major topics of challenge for couples. And we also know that there is a significant amount of sexual dysfunction that couples present with due to, one, lack of experience, open culture of the communication is that it's not, there isn't a whole lot of openness and discussion of sexual activity prior to marriage, for pre-education. And so they come in with a level of ignorance and sometimes reluctance to actually openly discuss things of that nature. They find it a little bit more private and personal than maybe the next couple. And what we know is that when there is sexual dysfunction and when there is young age children, lower educational and lower income levels, and the age in which marriage began, we know that these are all well documented as divorce risks. Also, Christian couples see God as a presiding partner in their marriage. And so incorporating verbiage and discussion and comfort with talking about him as a presiding entity within the relationship is necessary. And they also believe that when they draw closer as a couple, they draw near to God as well, that those are correlated. So the closer they feel together, the closer they resonate in their belief system with God. So, what can you expect when you see Christian couples in counseling? As I said, they're more likely to seek intervention through their faith institutions first. So, they might even come in with some pretty well-versed understanding already of basic elements, but also that means that they might come in with a little bit more disappointment in the process that they haven't been able to find relief. And also, that they might actually carry a little bit more helplessness and hopelessness, given that they have tried maybe several different other avenues before getting to a professional counseling setting. They're more likely to be suspicious of any kind of humanistic psychology and the counseling process itself. As we well know, theology and psychology were not historically accepting of one another. I do see some shifts changing with that as more and more churches are really embracing mental health, really understanding how scripture isn't necessarily against psychology or psychological theories and belief sets. So, but depending upon their background and what their belief is, they might come in more suspicious of the setting and definitely more suspicious of wanting to know the counselor's philosophical stance in this area. A lot of them have come in to me and said, I don't want to hear from my therapist that they recommend divorce. I want to know that they are just as much for the us as necessary to help repair it. More likely to view entering into counseling setting as a moral failure. And they're more likely to fear a marital therapist to suggest divorce as a viable option. They prefer to solicit a marital therapist that specifically shares their same belief set. So whatever your comfort level is, as far as them being able to ask you personal questions, we've been taught to, keep our personal out, but they're more likely to align and trust build with you if they actually know that you might have similar belief sets or support their belief sets. And not only that, but they actually, one layer deeper, prefer to have their beliefs openly incorporated into the counseling setting. So even beyond maybe prayer, but actual interventions in the area of spirituality and spiritual connectedness within the relationship. So that brings me to the God attachment literature, that if we are using the attachment science in the area of romantic attachment, when we are reparative in our approach to a relationship where that safety and security bond has been some kind of way fractured, then we also are incorporating the same attachment literature in the realm of spirituality and God attachment as well. So let me give you a little bit of background of what the God attachment literature is saying. That God can be seen as a personified caregiver to whom one turns to for a safe haven and a secure base. So, in attachment science, any figure that we are reaching for as a safe haven and a secure base is defined as an attachment person. Um, and so they see God as one of those. And so it meets the definition of an attachment figure. Um, they look to God as a romantic attachment, similar to other romantic attachments. In the scripture literature, it talks about Jesus loving the church similarly to loving his bride. And so they really feel like God specifically comes at a level of love and attachment of one, his design and how he made marriage to work, but also in the romantic language in the scripture that he enters into that romantic attachment similarly. Seeing God as not being safe and secure, we have found has a correlation to the negative impact of romantic attachment in Christian couples. So, if there has been a breach in the safety and security of their faith or the safety and security of their romantic attachment partner, this correlates across the board on not creating safety and security across both. And alternatively, a more secure belief in a safe and secure God can operate as a positive influence in romantic relationships as well. So, secure attachment results in greater relationship satisfaction levels in Christian couples. Let me say that again, because this is huge. Secure God attachment results in greater relationship satisfaction levels in Christian couples. So, working on their God attachment in a secure kind of approach is only going to continue to enhance the relationship satisfaction itself. Positive God attachment and practices, and there's that word again, practices, can increase better coping and affect regulation and a more secure attachment in adult relationships despite an individual's history to include trauma. So it can even be reparative in history of trauma, as well as how they show up differently in that trauma trigger set in the relationship. So positive God attachment and practices can increase better coping and affect regulation during those moments. Adults who report seeing God as distant, rejecting, or inconsistent, so insecure attached, which are qualities of insecure attachment, experience more loneliness, depression, anxiety, psychological and physical illness than those who report a secure attachment style towards God. And what we know is those individual kind of components can impact the relationship alone as well. So, what we're seeing in the God attachment literature is that God can serve as a substitute attachment partner when they receive their romantic partner as unsafe. So they have an extra quality of secure resiliency to remain feeling safe and secure through their God attachment in those times when partners don't seem safe and secure. And positive attachment in God demonstrates better affect regulation during problem solving discussions in wives that tend to present with either preoccupied or dismissing attachment partnerships. So adding that as an element of positive coping in the cycle of their communication when insecure attachment is present is a necessary and a recommended step with Christian couples. So that is a lot of the God attachment literature and how those interventions entering into the counseling room as a therapist working with Christian couples can enhance the overall success and relationship satisfaction repair that needs to happen. So I have incorporated all of this into my interventions. I'm leaving you with some information about those. The Marriage Made Whole program does use God as an attachment figure to help prevent, resolve, and overcome marital conflict. Interventions typically can include not only just prayer and scripture references and religious imagery, it does have Christian theology references to the point of each couple's comfort level and desire. So I do assess for each couple's unique desire to filter in this type of the intervention uniquely to each couple. And what we find with emotionally focused therapy, it is because it's built from attachment theory, it is complementary to the Christian worldview. The techniques of EFT together with clinical principles from the God attachment literature allow Christian couples to learn how to connect, love, and attach, meeting the need for more options out there for couples of the Christian faith. And I also offer an intensive model for couples because it's becoming more widely accepted as a format in working with interventions so that we are remediating more quickly in the beginning part of the counseling. And I also offer a 6-month follow-up program from the 2-day or 3-day intensive of the couple. And we have found in my 30 years of experience and the literature that's growing in support of more intensive on the front end, greater relationship satisfaction, more couples able to complete a full round of counseling, and more immediate remediation. So this intervention uses all attachment pathways, self, God, and partner as a reparative path for healing their hurts, fostering new ways of relating to each other, and emotionally reconnecting so they can experience each other as this safe haven. And in the workbook, if you have it, if you want the full dissertation link to download, you are welcome to do that. I have put it into the workbook. But I also have made it into a more lay format. So getting through dissertation reading is very tedious. So I just recently put that into my Naked and Exposed, experiencing the NOC for Life method, learning how to love well in your marriage. So I have a link to that book as well. I have other options that are available to you if you're working with an individual and or other Christian couples. I have a free Intimacy for Life method webinar that I offer throughout the year. They can register for that on my website. The next one's coming up in November. So you might want to offer that as a free resource for your couples. I have a Love Leading podcast link that you can also recommend to your couples as well, or your individuals at that rate as well. And like I said, I wanted to make sure that I only took 30 minutes of your lunchtime. I know your time is very valuable. If I could just invite you to maybe sign up for a free consultation with me. Here's my link. I would love to get to know you and to further get to know more of you in a more personal way outside of this screen. So feel free to find a mutually agreed upon time for both of us to just maybe jump on the phone or FaceTime for us to be able to introduce each other more formally. If you have questions about this, I would love to hear from you by email. Definitely reach out to me with more questions or comments, furthering the discussion, maybe possibly making some suggestions on how we can uniquely partner together in this area. And so there is my email address. Again, if you haven't been able to listen to this live, if you've registered, it will repost. The replay will be on my LinkedIn professional page, Shannon Roberts, PhD. And if you've registered, you will get the replay link as well as the workbook for you to follow along. So that being said, thank you for attending. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just wanting and desiring to deepen your understanding and knowledge in this very unique population of couples that we all find ourselves sometimes within in our offices.